Welcome to video lesson for box and whisker plots. Our lesson objectives today are to review box and whisker plots and to read and interpret box and whisker plots. Alright, so let's get started. First thing we have is the essential vocabulary. You'll need to have these written down in your notes. Essential vocabulary, first thing we need for a box and whisker plot is the 5-number summary. The 5-number summary is used to make a box and whisker plot. They include the minimum, maximum, median, upper quartile, and lower quartile. Some other essential vocabulary from the 5-number summaries. We have the median. The median, when numbers are arranged from least to greatest, is in the middle of the set. It can be between two numbers. The median basically is the very middle, so you're looking for the middle number. Some more essential vocabulary. Upper quartile. The upper quartile is the median of the top 50% of data. And then the lower quartile is the median of the bottom 50% of data. The upper and lower quartile, they basically cut the top half in half and the lower half in half. So these are basically fourths. Think of the word quartile, helps you remember that. Okay, so how many sections are in a box and whisker plot? Well, a box and whisker plot is made up of 4 sections. We got the first section here, then you have the 2 box sections, and then you have the upper section here. Each part contains 25% of the numbers. Each part is called a quartile. So if you're looking at this, there are 2 sections in this box right here. So this box right here actually has 50% of the data. And this is the lowest 25%, or the lower quartile, and this is the upper 25%, or the upper quartile. So each one of these guys has 25%. Okay, so the box together makes 50%. Now we're looking at what the parts of a box and whisker plot are. So this is something you need to make sure you record down. First thing you have on your box and whisker plot is you have your number line. Your number line, shown here, will have the scale appropriate to whatever box and whisker you're working with. It looks like this one we have players' weights. So you expect a lot of these players to be between 150 pounds and 300 pounds. Okay. Then also on the parts, you always have your minimum and your maximum. They are always parts of this. Now our 5-number summary makes up all the different parts. Right here I know it's pointing at the lower quartile right here, but that's the lower quartile section. The lower quartile itself as a number is right here. So when you have your LQ, that's where it is. Same thing here, this is your upper quartile, and right here in the middle we have our median. It's actually pointing at the right spot. Okay, so the upper quartile and the lower quartile, this is talking about the section. Okay, so you should have your LQs like this. Alright, let's look at an example. Why we would use a box and whisker plot. So sometimes you want to show an overall picture of how data are grouped, but you do not want to show each item. The example we might use is you want to show a class how they did on the test, but you do not want to show the actual scores. Now, some students might get offended by showing their scores to the whole class. So let's look at an example real quick. We have an example of reading a box and whisker plot. This is class A. This is actually data from an algebra class. This is how they performed on a particular test. Now we can look at this box and whisker plot right here. Again, remember this is the 50% data. So we can look at this and say that 50% of the kids scored somewhere between, it looks like about a 77 and a 94%. So 50% of the kids scored in that B range pretty much, or pretty close to the B range. Alright, and then top 25% of the kids are right here. This is the top 25. And then down here, this is the bottom 25%. Now notice the bottom 25% looks longer, but it's still 25% of the data. The bottom 25% looks like our lowest score is somewhere around 53. So you can see how the class did, but it doesn't really give you any specifics. Alright, well, here's another example. This particular class, this is class B. This is for the same test as the last class. Now you can look at this one, you can say our middle 50%, so our middle 50% right here. This guy goes from about 82 to 95. So I can tell that this class scored a little higher than the last class. It's got an outlier, and an outlier, this is something important for you guys to write down. An outlier, a piece of data that is much smaller or larger than the rest of the data. So this guy, whoever this person is that scored about a 56 or 57 on the test, is a lot farther away from the rest of the class. So this is an outlier. Alright, the rest of the class, it looks like 66 or better. So this class did pretty good. You can compare two box and whisker plots at the same time. This is a good way to get some useful information. Looking at this, there's the same two classes, Class A, Class B. You can look at them and say, well, you can answer a question, which class did better on the test. You can tell by looking at this. We can also make some important statements. And that brings us to the end of our video. Be sure to fill out your notes, and I'll see you tomorrow in class.